That's nice.
The owner said he bought the chest in the early 1970s at a dealer's shop in Long Beach, California for $350.
I always love painted pieces,
Right.
and we have a few in our home.
Okay.
And when I saw the painting on it, I knew it was a pretty good piece, and I thought it was probably Pennsylvania.
It's a dowry chest, and it is from around the 18th century. You can see the 6 beautiful painted tulips, and these designs were very popular in Pennsylvania German decorations. Back in the 18th century, there were a lot of German settlements in Pennsylvania, and this design was used to symbolize love. The owner found this newspaper inside the chest at the time of the purchase. The paper dated back to 1937, and it coincidentally happened to be from Somerset, Pennsylvania, where his grandmother and mother lived. The wood that was actually used to make this is pine wood, and they often painted the chest on a soft pine like the one we are seeing here. You can see another smaller compartment there. And there are wrought iron hinges that were probably made in Lancaster, Somerset County.
Look at that nice oxidation here where the iron has seeped into the wood.
Yes.
Those are absolutely original, John, and really, really nice. I mean, I
Terrific.
loved it.
You can also see the birds and the tulip at this end.
This is the nicest end because you have the birds again with the tulips, and that paint didn't get beat up as much.
Some of the repair had been done to the whole back foot, which will affect its value. This chest was most likely made by a cabinet shop, and would have been purchased by a family for a daughter. This dowry chest would be valued at.
This piece would easily be valued at $9,000.
Terrific.
You didn't do bad.
Fantastic.
It has been in the guest's family since she was a kid. Her father gave it to her, and she could trace it back to the 1750s. The first owner was Jacob Weiss. He was a known colonel then in Philadelphia. He was originally German at first. Back then, spice chests were popular in England and were also made in places like Boston or Connecticut. But a lot of it was made in Pennsylvania, and this one right here was made in Philadelphia around 1765 to 1780. They were made from woods like curly maple, and the expensive ones were made from black walnut. But one of the rarest kinds are those made from mahogany, and this one is made from imported mahogany, making it quite expensive. Looking at the figure panel, you would notice that they applied arch panels, which are on the mahogany doors. Coming down to the molded base, which was made with a drop pendant, and drop pendants were rarely used in making these spice boxes. Usually the spices put inside this kind of spice box were worth as much as the box. Another thing that makes this kind rare is the kind of fans used. First, it was rare to find it in spice boxes, and these fans come from Philadelphia around the 18th century, and you can also see the neat punch work done in there, and the use of locally grown yellow pine wood. And then there's the detailing on the dovetails. All these add to its exceptional qualities. The spice box was appraised once back in 1967, and it cost $5,000.
What I was doing in the basement looking for pictures and
Right.
things that went with this,
Yes.
I did find an appraisal from 1967 done in Philly.
1967.
But today, because of its qualities, it would be priced for a retail amount of.
Let's say retail, $85,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
The guest's mother, who first possessed the painting, had aspired to be an artist, but was unable to pursue it because of the Great Depression. It was later passed down to him, and he kept it in his basement because his wife didn't like it in their sitting room. The painting was done by the artist George Soter, and his mum must have known him, because it looks like it was addressed to her directly.
I looked up the name of the painter, and I found that he died in 1953.
Soter was an American painter who started out as a stained glass artist. He was known for painting nocturnal scenes, and he also became known for stained glass windows. Soter met a man named Edwin Redfield in his early years, who was his teacher and friend, a leading painter in the New Hope School. The New Hope School was an impressionist movement centered in the town of New Hope, Pennsylvania. The owner had kept it in his basement, not knowing the high value of this painting, and once it is cleaned, its beauty will be even clearer. The price for this piece is worth about.
It might ring between $120,000 and $180,000.
You're not kidding.
I'm not kidding. You promise not to have a heart attack, though.
The owner received the chair from her aunt, though it originally belonged to her grandmother and was part of a set of 3, of which she has just one. The chairs were made by William Savery.
William Savery is one of the most famous makers there is in 18th century furniture, so I got pretty excited when I saw this.
William Savery was a popular American cabinet maker of the 18th century. Some of his greatest works were his furniture in the Queen Anne and Philadelphia Chippendale styles. The wood used is the usual maple rush, and the chair carries his signature style, which is the serpentine crest. Then there's the vase splat and the cabriole legs with angular knees, and at the feet you can see the classic Savery. One of these has been sold for over $140,000, even though it was labeled, unlike this one. But what makes this one stand out, even though it is not labeled, is the distinctiveness in style and the fact that a tiger maple was used to make it. It is also in good condition, as the final finishing has been maintained, so it would be estimated at about.
I would estimate this single chair at about $30,000 to $40,000 is a single. Look at that shape. Look at those legs.
It's a beautiful chair. I've always admired just...
Great.
The guest came along with this diamond ring called a rose-cut diamond. The design had an Italian name called giardinetti, which means garden or flower arrangement. This design has a big diamond called the vase, and smaller diamonds are the flower arrangement. You also notice that it follows the pattern of being arranged over a blue enameled thick glass background. The retail value of this ring would be...
The retail value, this ring would achieve about $10,000.
Wow. Well, that's a lot more than...
A lot more than you thought.
Paintings were from my aunt's home in Toledo, Ohio. They had been handed down from her husband's uncle, who was also from Toledo. He was a physician who traveled the world and actually commissioned most of the paintings in his collection.
She had two paintings, which were originally by artists from Ohio. One was September Sea by Cullen Yates, who was an American landscape painter born around 1864. The painting was a view of Ogunquit, Maine. Some letters were found at the back of the painting from the artist that were written to her uncle's uncle. The other painting was The Wild Morning Glories by Charles Courtney Curran, who was a contemporary of Yates and was an American painter. Charles did a lot of paintings of attractive young women bathed in sunlight. He lived mainly up in Cragsmore in New York, up on Hudson. The painting has Charles's signature at the bottom. The Yates painting has great brushwork and use of palette knives. It's very lively, colourful, and huge. If the painting were to go to an auction, its price should be estimated to be around...
If this were to go to an auction, I would expect a world record for that artist. I would estimate it around $20,000 to $30,000.
The Charles Courtney Curran is a very pretty painting, and pretty is not to be underestimated. The painting in an auction was estimated to be between...
In an auction right now, I would put an estimate of $40,000 to $60,000.
Oh my goodness, no!
The guest brought a set of boxes that she had acquired from her brother. The items were identified as snuff boxes due to their attractiveness. The boxes featured a type of enamel called guilloche, creating a silk-like appearance. The appraiser explained that the enamel layers over the engraved surface patterns create varying light and dark effects. These boxes had Austrian hallmarks dating them to around 1800 to 1820. Additionally, another series of marks indicated that they were imported into France. The boxes were considered highly collectible due to their enameling and historical context. The third box, featuring an enamel portrait of Napoleon, was identified as a jewel box. Based on desirability, the value suggested was...
At auction, if these were going to come up for auction, I would imagine that these would have a pre-sale estimate of between $2,500 and $3,500 a piece.
Okay.
The guest brought a salesman's sample of a barn, which he believed dated to around the turn of the century. The appraiser agreed, estimating it to be from approximately 1900. The sample featured a constructed front section, indicative of how the entire structure, including the back, would be built. It likely demonstrated the construction of the first bays with all the bracing, which could then be duplicated to extend the barn's length. The appraiser explained that salesmen would use this frame to sell prefabbed frames. During a barn raising, neighbors would be invited to help erect the structure. Typically, men would use oxen to lift the front and sides, attach the trusses, and then another group would nail everything together. The barn owner would usually complete the walls and roof with help from his family, as the community's involvement was essential for raising the barn. The appraiser found the historical significance of the salesman's sample fascinating, emphasizing its value not just monetarily, but also as a piece of history. Much to the guest's surprise and satisfaction, he estimated its worth to be between...
I would say it was worth between perhaps $1,200 and $1,500.
Wow.
Okay?
The guest displayed a set of silverware that he acquired from his mother. The items originally belonged to Vita Jacks, the daughter of David Jacks. The guest shared information about David Jacks, the largest landowner in Monterey County. The silver pieces were identified as being crafted by George Jensen, a prominent Copenhagen silversmith. The appraiser noted that Jensen had been renowned for his high-quality work since the early 1900s. The pieces, dating to around 1920, included a coffee pot, teapot, creamer, and covered sugar bowl, with additional pieces. The remarkable set featured Queen Anne influences and a unique handle placed at a 90-degree angle to the spout. Given the historical context, the appraised value for the full set was
the insurance value for what we have on the table here, the 4 pieces, would be somewhere in the $17,500 range.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
A very dear friend of theirs had passed away several years ago, and his wife decided that they would be the best caretakers of his cherished chair. The guest believed the chair to be around 90 years old, considering that their friend would have turned 90 in March. The appraiser revealed that the chair was actually much older than expected. To the guest's amazement, the appraiser dated the chair back to the 1700s, likely the 1780s. The chair was probably made in the mid-Atlantic region. While many children's rockers and chairs are appraised at low values due to their commonality, this particular chair stood out. It had an older, wonderful surface with 2 layers of paint, including an early red, likely from its original paint, and a later Victorian red that had deteriorated. This type of surface was very desirable to collectors. The appraiser highlighted the exceptional form of the chair, noting the original, beautifully shaped rockers and the fabulous turnings that collectors love. Although the seat was a replacement, the chair's rarity was increased by its 4 slats, compared to the more common 3-slat versions. Despite a long-ago break in the upper slat, its value remains unaffected. As suggested by the appraiser,
In this condition, I'm sure a collector would happily pay a retail price of about $1,500 for it.
Wow.
the guest and her husband purchased the vase about 30 years ago in Seattle at an estate sale. They thought it was beautiful but weren't sure if it was authentic Tiffany piece due to its large size. The vase was a Favrile vase, made using a technique where the design is created by pulling off hot glass and tooling it while it's still molten. The appraiser explained that the mark on the side was likely a byproduct of the glass-making process. The guest had concerns about the vase being a fake, but the appraiser assured her it's a genuine Tiffany. The mark on the bottom read Louis Tiffany, confirming its authenticity. The vase dated back to the early 1900s, and it was a beautiful example of Art Nouveau design. This valuable and authentic piece of Tiffany glass, due to its beauty and historical significance, was retailed at.
Well, I would say in a retail store in New York, you could easily expect a price of $8,000 to $10,000 on the vase.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
This is a fascinating collection of chisels made by a company called D.R. Barton. These chisels were produced in Rochester, New York around 1870 to 1880. D.R. Barton was one of the first and best toolmakers in the United States. It is extremely rare to find chisels from that time period, not to mention a complete set of finely made chisels. This set of high-demand chisels among collectors would be valued at what price? We present a golden saxophone with a magnificent presence in a fine case. The guest inherited this instrument from his father-in-law. This is a Selmer alto saxophone made in 1950 by Henry Selmer Paris, a famous French enterprise known for manufacturing wooden or brassy musical instruments. This Selmer alto saxophone was produced among the popular classic Super Balanced Action series, among which many famous rock jazz bands of the time played at that time because of its precise intonation across the entire range.
But most of the major American alto saxophone players have used this horn.
There are engravings on the instrument with the manufacturer's serial number and other engravings that beautify the saxophone intricately.
And the engraving was probably done here in America once it arrived.
Looking closely, we see that the saxophone is in an excellent condition. So at auction, this Selmer alto saxophone, representing exceptional musicality and historical importance, would accrue
between $7,000 and $9,000. Wow.
This scrimshaw tooth is a cherished family heirloom of our guest today. It has been in his family since the early 1900s.
In 1920, my great-grandfather received this from a hobo that he'd helped out.
Engraved on the tooth is a picture of the ship Francis, which was commissioned in 1826 and sank in 1854. Crafted from sperm whale tooth, it bears the signature of its carver, Fred Myrick.
So we feel that he probably served on the Francis after the Susan.
Myrick's craftsmanship on this piece is exquisite, showcasing meticulous attention to detail. There is a red stain visible on the tooth, likely due to prolonged storage.
What was that from?
Yeah, the red staining, we believe, it sat in my grandmother's house for years on a red velvet, and that was the only thing we could figure stained it.
The stain can be easily cleaned, and this beautifully engraved tooth is estimated to be worth...
Today, we're going to give it an insurance valuation of $150,000 to $200,000.
That's extraordinary. Almost definitely. It's just part of the family and the story of it and how it came to us. It's definitely a family treasure.
This charming Santa Claus figure has a bit of a story to it. It was originally purchased by this young guest's father and then given to him. The toy was made by Hubley, a renowned toy manufacturer known for their cast-iron toys. Featuring the classic galloping reindeer, the toy is in excellent original condition. Though to untrained eyes it might look like it has been repainted, it remains untouched, which is quite rare.
Well, it's kind of odd when you find something so perfect that it looks like it's been repainted. Wow.
Manufactured in Lancaster, Pennsylvania during the 1920s and 30s, this piece is a true gem. Despite minor flakes and chips, it's one of the finest examples of Hubley's toys out there. At auction, this delightful Santa Claus toy would be valued at
between $3,000 and $4,000. This would bring at auction.
He will be so pleased.
This dragonfly pin carries a story that dates back to the 18th century. The guest's husband purchased it for her at an auction 55 years ago. Interestingly, the dragonfly's wings are mounted on springs, allowing them to move and mimic the fluttering of a real dragonfly. And this piece is a stunning example of Art Nouveau jewelry, featuring transparent enamel.
And they were worn up on the shoulder. They would pin it right on the shoulder.
That's exactly where I wore it.
Yeah, that's where you wore it. I know you bought dresses just the right color to match this jewel.
Additionally, the wings are outlined with rose-cut diamonds set in silver. The pin also showcases a blue stone at the top and green enameled eyes. However, it was later discovered that this exquisite piece is a high-quality replica of the original Art Nouveau design.
Because in actuality, the condition was too good. The other thing that we found was that the blue stone at the top was glass and not a real sapphire.
At auction, this beautifully adorned dragonfly pin replica would fetch a significant value of
easily fetch about $3,000 to $5,000 as a copy.
Well, I guess so. And I thank you very much.
This guest presented a parquetry fruit dish created by her grandfather in the 1920s in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Did this as a hobby. He was a car inspector for the Southern Railroad for 51 years. He did this, and he also did a dining room table, same type plan.
Parquetry involves creating geometric patterns with small pieces of wood, and this piece is a stunning example of this art form.
This was a men's hobby and almost referred to in a way as men's quilting. So men would work by themselves typically to create these pieces.
This dish contains approximately 7,000 individual pieces of wood, intricately arranged into both geometric and floral marquetry designs. This piece falls into the best category of parquetry due to its complexity and the fine detail of the work. Even the bottom of the dish, which is typically unseen, is embellished, highlighting the maker's commitment to perfection. Well preserved and in pristine condition, this exquisite piece would fetch.
I think a nice retail price for this piece would be somewhere in the $3,000 to $4,000 area.
Yes. My family will be proud.
A magnificent book of prints is spread out before us. Our guest inherited this treasure from her husband's family. This breathtaking masterpiece is a work of the legendary Johannes Stratinus. He was a prolific designer of prints, which were circulated widely throughout Europe for centuries.
He was born in Bruges. He moved down to Italy in the 1550s. He was born in 1523. And he worked with the famous art historian Vasari.
The works of Johannes Stratinus was extremely rare and valuable.
The book is very rare. His artwork is very rare. There's 104 of these wonderful engravings.
This remarkable print is a first edition, published in 1578. With its excellent condition and rarity, this beautiful piece would have an auction estimate of...
We would safely put an estimate of $20,000 to $30,000 on it.
I hear them say you're kidding all the time on the program.
We're not kidding. We don't kid.
The modeling of this sculpture shows the artist's innovative carving skills. This piece is a sensational 1917 bronze sculpture by Daniel Chester French, who was an American sculptor of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The initials DCF on the piece identify this bronze sculpture as the work of French. Known for iconic public commissions like the Minuteman statue in Concord, Massachusetts, and the Abraham Lincoln Monument in Washington, D.C., French's works are highly esteemed. This particular sculpture, a beautifully modeled female nude, is unusual for French, who is more recognized for his monumental public pieces. Despite its rarity among his typical subjects, the sculpture showcases his exceptional skill. In today's market, this bronze sculpture by French is valued at...
The current auction value for this would probably be in the $5,000 to $7,000 range.
That's great.
The design of this La Grasse glass vase is top-notch. This piece is a remarkable piece from the early 20th century, likely dating to around 1910. La Grasse, a French company that produced exquisite glassware, has this vase as one of their finest examples that stands out. The vase showcases a combination of decorative techniques, which features a mottled green glass with maroon striations and an acid-etched surface. The most captivating aspect is the gold treatment that appears like a metal mounting. What makes this piece particularly special is its size and attention to detail, as larger pieces of La Grasse are often more commercial. The signature Ellen Company on the underside signifies its status as a special piece and is valued at
between $3,000 and $5,000.
Oh, wow. Oh,
So
that's wonderful.
Showcased here is a piece of silverware that exemplifies the seamless merging of luxury and utility from the past. This item is the Belmont Trophy from 1908, which the guest's mother purchased at an antique show in 1971. We can identify that this piece was made by Tiffany & Company because it bears the maker's initials underneath.
And this letter M corresponds to a gentleman whose name was John C. Moore II, who took over the factory management in 1907.
On top of the trophy sits a silver horse figurine representing the horse that won the award. Opening the trophy reveals it is a humidor, complete with a copper lining. Finally, the piece came with its original case, further enhancing its value. We can expect this silver trophy by Tiffany to command a significant value of
that it might bring between $30,000 and $40,000 in today's current auction.
Wow, that's amazing.
This Cartier lion brooch from around 1960 is a remarkable piece of jewelry that showcases Cartier's exceptional craftsmanship and luxurious design. This brooch features a majestic lion meticulously crafted from yellow gold. The lion's mane is intricately detailed, showcasing a combination of polished and textured finishes that brings the figure to life. The nose of the lion is set with one solid emerald, which adds a striking contrast and a touch of vivid color. Given that this brooch represents the artistry and elegance that Cartier is known for, it's valued at
And today, if you had to buy it at auction, you'd be raising your hand upwards of $6,000.
Oh my Lord!
That's right.
This is a porcelain vase. The guest's uncle gifted it to his mother. This piece of cloisonne was crafted by one of the foremost artists, Ando Jubi, from the Meihei to Taisho periods in Japan. It's a jade blue vase in baluster form, with silver rim bands and arrangements of prunus, bamboo, and chrysanthemum designs. This 19th century piece also has the artist's mark at the bottom, indicating authenticity. In a retail setting, this jade blue vase with silver rim bands would be worth
Sell for around $6,000. Wow, that's nice.
a stunning collection of vintage beauty. 3 elegant pieces show off the skill of the past. The guest shared that her mother's mother inherited a collection from her cousin, who had received it from his parents, and now she has inherited them. The appraiser began by examining a Cartier compact, dating from around 1940 to 1945, featuring a small ruby, set in 18-karat gold. These elegant compacts were used by ladies in the evening. Next, the appraiser looked at another Cartier piece from the Art Deco period, circa 1925. This compact, made in Paris and retailed in London, was crafted with black enamel and diamond accents, though it had some edge damage. It opened to reveal a mirror and a compact and was more elaborate than the first one.
More elaborate than the later version.
Okay.
It has a little bit of damage here along the edge.
Third item was a Minadore, a woman's evening bag from the 1930s, considered the chicest piece in the collection. This bag, made by Arnold Ossertag of Paris, featured diamonds and rubies in a floral design, with the rubies likely being high-quality Burmese stones. The Minadore, made of 18-karat gold, contained a watch, lighter, and compartments for lipstick, powder, a mirror, and cigarettes. The appraiser remarked on the wonderful collection and noted that the original owner must have been quite a lady, to which the guest agreed. While examining the piece, the appraiser said,
Conservative estimate would be $15,000 to $20,000.
That's amazing.
The condition issue reduces the Deco Cartier's case's value to $6,000 to $8,000. For Minadore, the appraiser said,
Because of the condition issue, I would say at auction $6,000 to $8,000.
Oh my gosh.
The guest inherited a rug from her grandmother, a collector of Native American art. The rug was identified as Navajo weaving from New Mexico or Arizona, depicting Navajo Yi figures. Yi figures represented deities and were associated with a 9-day healing ceremony, showcasing their extensive knowledge. The weaving was created on a vertical loom without patterns, with the design emerging as the weaver worked, a testament to the weaver's skill. The weaver used hand-spun wool yarns, combining natural brown and cream colors to create a unique heathery gray-brown color. The figures were embellished with jewelry, clothing, and eagle feathers, symbolizing protection and significance, adding to the rug value in the weaving. The weaving was dated to the 1930s from the Four Corners area of the Navajo Reservation. The rug's beauty, symbolism, and historical significance made it a valuable and cherished possession, being appraised at
that I would put on this in a retail type of situation would be about $7,500.
Wow.
$7,500.
Dad and Grandpa will be interested to know that. We've been wondering that for a while.
A former college basketball referee for 32 years with a passion for the Atlantic Coast Conference, ACC, brought in a 1982 NCAA championship basketball signed by the University of North Carolina, UNC, Tar Heels. He received the ball as a gift from legendary coach Dean Smith in recognition of his contributions to the school's fundraising efforts. In commemorating UNC's first championship under Coach Smith, a milestone victory for the team and the coach himself. Dean Smith had been with the Tar Heels since 1961, and the 1982 championship win came in his 21st season at the helm. The team that year featured a powerhouse lineup, including freshmen Michael Jordan and James Worthy, both destined for the Basketball Hall of Fame. The championship game itself was a classic, a seesaw battle against the Georgetown Hoyas, led by freshman Patrick Ewing. With 15 lead changes throughout the game, the tension was high. Ultimately, Michael Jordan's iconic shot, with 17 seconds remaining, sealed the victory for UNC, solidifying his place as a college basketball legend. The guest had kept the basketball in pristine condition, rarely even taking it out of its case. The exceptional condition and provenance of the ball attributes to an insurance value of
value-wise, because of the condition and because of the provenance, I would put an insurance value of this of $10,000.
This baseball bat is unlike any other you have seen, covered in autographs from 357 baseball players across various eras. His wife had impulsively purchased the bat at a comic store for $60, and the guest had since embarked on a mission to collect signatures. He fondly recalled attending sports card shows with his son, patiently waiting to meet and get autographs from legendary players. Among his favorites were Mel Allen, a player considered to be on par with Joe DiMaggio in his time, and Stan Musial, who the guest believed to be the best hitter ever. There were dozens of Hall of Famers and many other interesting players represented on the bat. The guest mentioned his desire to add Derek Jeter's autograph as the next big accomplishment. The white bat provided a perfect canvas for the autographs, making the collection unique and very valuable. While the wife had purchased the bat for a mere $60, the estimated insurance value of the collection is...
We wouldn't insure it for anything less than $10,000.
$10,000? Oh, that's, wow, it's unbelievable. Wow. Yeah. Very nice.
A remarkable collection of letters written by Anais Nin, a famous author, to the guest's grandmother was brought in. The letters dated back to 1920, a time when Nin was still a teenager, but already displaying her exceptional writing talent and love for nature. The guest's grandmother and Nin had been childhood friends who grew up together on Long Island. Their correspondence began during their summer vacations when their families went separate ways. One particular letter excitedly shared Nin's achievement of publishing her very first poem in a prestigious literary journal. The unique opportunity these letters provided to see the development of a renowned author and the friendship between Nin and the guest's grandmother. In terms of value, the individual letter presented is worth.
For the letter we have here, I would value it retail at between $1,000 to $1,500.
Wow.
For the entire collection of letters, the estimated value was a much higher
Collection of Anais Nin letters she brought in today between $4,000 to $5,000.
The woman inherited a remarkable pair of bronze sculptures from her great-great-great-grandfather, Richard Morris Hunt, a renowned architect. The sculptures were maquettes, or scale models, created by another artistic giant, Daniel Chester French, for a monument to Richard Morris Hunt in Central Park. Richard Morris Hunt was a leading architect who left his mark on New York City with his designs, including the base of the Statue of Liberty and the east wing of the Louvre. The monument in Central Park honored his contributions to the city's architectural landscape. The sculptures themselves were particularly interesting. One muse was depicted holding a miniature model of the administration building for the 1893 Columbia World's Fair in Chicago. Another of Richard Morris Hunt's signature designs. Both sculptures were dated between 1898 and 1899, indicating the time frame within which French created them. The sculpture held immense historical significance due to their connection to two prominent figures in American art and architecture. Considering their pedigree and rarity, the estimated auction value is to be.
Our sense is that if you had to put a value for auction on them, probably looking somewhere for the pair in the $20,000 to $30,000 range.
Wow, yes.
Many people have personal or ancestral stories connected to the first edition of the Book of Mormon. Our guest today shared a connection by presenting a first edition of the Book of Mormon that has been in his family since 1833.
There were 5 early editions of the Book of Mormon published that are extremely significant to the LDS faith.
This book was published in 1830 by E.B. Grandin. Grandin, a printer based in Palmyra, New York, is best known for this significant publication. On one of the pages, the guest's great-great-grandfather wrote a note, adding a personal touch to this historic volume. Interestingly, unlike modern editions, the first edition lacks chapters and verses. Moreover, the book is bound in pigskin, and the guest has had preservation work done to maintain its condition. At auction, this historically significant book of the Latter-day Saints would fetch a value of.
The first edition Book of Mormon, I would value this at $75,000 at retail.
That's amazing.